Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to Recovery Perfects, practical tools that can help you follow good, orderly direction. I'm your host, Dr. Donnelly Snipes. We are continuing our study of Deuteronomy chapter 7 today, looking at verses 16 through 24, having faith in the process. Scripture says you must destroy all relationships with any of the peoples God gives over to you. Do not look on them with pity and do not serve their gods, for that will be a snare to you. Now, actually in Scripture, it says you must destroy all peoples, but that's not what we do anymore. What it's saying is we must separate ourselves. We must destroy our relationships with them. We can love them. We can pray for them. We can hope for the best for them, however you want to say it. We can have compassion for them. But it doesn't mean we need to associate with them. And it's important to think about these peoples. They may be people you have direct personal relationships with, or it may be groups such as social media or media itself that is triggering and tends to lead you mentally and into the wrong place, into a direction that goes away from good, orderly direction. Good, orderly direction helps you discern who is not safe so you can set boundaries. When you see people serving other gods, that is, engaging in substitute addictions, quick fixes, focusing on idols, dwelling on resentment or anger, those are things that may make them feel safe or powerful or numb. But that's not following good, orderly direction. You must set clear boundaries with those people, with those triggers, with that media. Else in a weak moment, you might start to relapse. Going back to Scripture, you may say to yourselves, these nations are stronger than we are. How can we drive them out? But do not be afraid of them. Remember well that what God did to Pharaoh and to all of Egypt. Do not be terrified by them, for God, who is among you, is a great and awesome God. These nations that they're talking about in Scripture represent the people, behaviors, and things that have contributed to your life becoming unmanageable. So nations can represent a lot of things. You may think to yourself that my cravings are too strong to handle, or my depression is too oppressive for me to do anything about. But when you're following good, orderly direction, you're no longer handling these things all by yourself, and you've got the support of other people. Prudence tells you, if you're struggling with depression, to reach out to doctors, to support groups, to somebody who might be able to help you. If you're struggling with addiction, there's lots of support groups out there, so you're not alone. And when you start connecting with those people, they have wisdom that you don't have to help you in your recovery process. You start gaining that wisdom. Even reviewing Scripture. There's a lot of wisdom within the Bible. If you just, when you read the stories, read them and say, okay, how would this translate into today's world? And how might this apply to my situation? Going back to Scripture, God will drive out those nations before you little by little. It's important, little by little. You will not be allowed to eliminate them all at once, or the wild animals will multiply around you. Now you may be scratching your head here, going, all right, again, how does this really apply to recovery? Okay. You are not going to give up your old beliefs, your reactions, or probably even your relationships until you feel safe. And that's why it says good, orderly direction is actually telling you that you're going to drive these things out, the memories, the relationships, the behaviors that make your life unmanageable. You're going to drive them out gradually. You're not going to wake up one morning and just poof, suddenly you're recovered. That ain't how it works. You developed a lot of these behaviors to help you survive until now. You developed a lot of your reactions based on prior experiences, and you're going to have to reprogram that with new knowledge and new tools so you feel safe in the present. When something like whatever happened in the past happens in the present, you will have new tools, new skills, new confidence that you can handle it. So you'll be able to react with less anxiety, less fear. The same stinking thinking that told you recovery was not possible tells you it's not safe to give up these things, or only focuses on the positives of the old behaviors, focusing on the good things about somebody that you're in a relationship with, but the relationship is really toxic. Focusing on the good things about the addiction and not on the bad things. Look at how it helped you. Yeah, and look at how it made your life unmanageable too. So stinking thinking is going to jump in and try to keep you from giving up those behaviors that helped you in some way survive until now. And prudence and endurance are skills in good orderly direction that can help you recognize, hey, that wasn't actually helping me move toward my rich and meaningful life. Let me learn skills and tools to help me do better, to help me move toward that life that I deserve. As you start to feel safe, you will be able to prudently evaluate situations and decide whether changes or staying the same will help you move toward your rich and meaningful life. You'll be able to evaluate the job that you're in, the relationships that you're in, and say, is this healthy? Is this respectful to me? Is this nurturing and helping me grow as a person? Is this making me feel loved and safe, or not? Is this just something I'm holding on to because it's better than nothing at all? Some people will not change and will need to be replaced by others who follow good orderly direction. And I've mentioned this in multiple videos. You can love someone and not associate with them. You may have to separate, get rid of that relationship. You can think about them, you can wish them the best, but it's not healthy or safe to be around them. And you can replace that relationship with one that is nurturing and positive. Radically changing people, places, things, and behaviors, even the ones that made your life unmanageable, can cause, and usually does cause, grief and trauma, which can leave you vulnerable to relapse, which is another reason we advise gradually making changes in your life, not just tipping over the apple cart the day you start recovery, because the life that you've had, even as unmanageable as it was, had some structure to it. And by gradually moving away from those things, you don't struggle as much. You're not as vulnerable to grief from those losses. Think about Lot's wife when they were leaving Sodom and Gomorrah. God said, don't look back. Leave and don't look back. Don't romanticize the past. But what did she do? She looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. The takeaway from that is it's normal to experience grief. It's normal to want to hold on to the good things from the past, even if they had a lot of bad things with them. But generally, you can't do that. Generally, you have to look at it and go, all right, everything has positives and negatives. Is this more positive? In which case, I'll keep it in my life. Or is this more negative? In which case, I need to separate from it. What people and thoughts do you need to drive out so your body, mind, and spirit can heal? What wild animals, like pain, distress, or relapse triggers, might appear when you drive them out, when you quit using substances, for example? You're going to have some detox. You're going to have some withdrawal symptoms. being aware of those wild animals that may make you want to go back to using. When you end a relationship that's unhealthy, the wild animal may be fear of abandonment, fear of never being in another relationship, loneliness, grief. There's lots of stuff that happens when you end a relationship. Those are the wild animals that are going to come out and try to chase you back into that relationship. Knowing not only what you need to change, but what the consequences of those changes are going to be and preparing for them is essential. Change takes time. Whether you are learning how to play the piano or you are working toward recovery, change takes time. And it's hard and can be exhausting. Being prudent, respectful, and compassionate toward yourself means making small changes slowly. Nobody's recovery progresses at exactly the same pace. Make your small change, get a foothold, feel comfortable and feel okay with that new change before you make another one. Some people, it'll seem like they're making changes really quickly. Other people, it takes a lot longer. It doesn't matter. What's more important is that you do it right, not quickly. When I used to work in residential, we had one of our programs was a 30-day program. And it used to frustrate me to no end, the people that would go through the 30-day program and they'd be telling me when they were discharging that they were on step 8 of the 12 steps. I'm like, no, honey. If you're on step 8, you have just blown through those things, and it's important to go back and take a little slower. Maybe you're on step 3, but if you're doing it correctly, I have difficulty believing that anybody can make it from step 1 to step 8 in 30 days. God's mighty power will help send us messages. If you're with us, you must allow God to teach you how to love and respect yourself and others. When we send this message, we act following good, orderly direction. We hold those in our circle accountable to following good, orderly direction. Then those who don't want to follow good, orderly direction are pretty quickly going to leave. Those who remain are going to be open to finding hope in God and good, orderly direction. The vices we hold, like resentment, constant anxiety, and addictions, will also become fewer as we commit ourselves to following God, and resentment is replaced with forgiveness and compassion. We begin eliminating from our lives those who will not follow God and those whose beliefs and behaviors that draw us away from God, or again, good, orderly direction, we'll be able to eliminate them from our lives without fear. We're going to recognize, hey, there are people out there who are safe, who do want to follow good, orderly direction. I don't have to be with these people in order to not be alone. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share.